Hello, Oracles. We had another very unexciting day in the market for Tesla today, falling about 0.37%, underperforming the market today, whereas yesterday it outperformed the market. However, Kairav, aka a Tesla bot over on Twitter, and Kery, also over on Twitter, were very astute and pointed out to me that there is a cup and handle pattern forming right now. So what a cup and handle pattern is, we will go over this tomorrow with some visuals on our live stream, but it is a pattern where over about a 7+ week period, you form this cup pattern, like a teacup, and then there's a little handle of consolidation at the end. Well, looking at the charts on the daily chart, on May 4th, we started our downward trend to the bottom of the cup, and then we moved our way back up to the other ridge on August 4th, and we have been consolidating ever since, forming that handle. So, what is a cup and handle pattern? It is actually a very bullish long-term investment buying opportunity pattern. So, this just means that now it seems like there should be a breakout coming soon. And now, talking with Positively Charged over on Twitter today as well, we've both been having the same feeling where it kind of feels like we may not actually get this run up into the split that we had been anticipating, and then we might actually get a little bit of a pullback with all of the FUD going into September, and then get a massive breakout for Q4 going into the end of the year, potentially hitting new all-time highs. That falls right in line with this cup and handle pattern, because if we consolidate, come down a little bit to the middle of September, and then we break out and take off from there, that is exactly what you would see in a cup and handle pattern. So, not to say that this is going to play out, but looking at trends over the past history, this is what ends up happening with a cup and handle pattern. And as Luke Price had mentioned in the comments today, it's like a coiled spring right now. And we had talked about this all the way back in January, where the longer that Tesla compresses for, the more it's going to spring back up and shoot to the ceiling. So again, if we compress even more after this, especially with the split coming, if we compress even more into the middle of September, that just means we're going to spring that much higher, that much faster going into the end of the year. And now when it comes to the consolidation, looking at how we're going to be splitting next week, we may not end up filling those two gaps down to 776 or 742. We might actually fill them after the split. Now, if we fill them after the split, we'll take a look at the charts, because that could form that pattern continuously consolidating before we break out. Little things to pay attention to. Once we do the split, I'll retake a look at the charts at that point. So we'll just see how we kind of play out, but it seems like we are forming this very bullish pattern going forward. Now, I've also had many discussions with you guys in the comments where when it comes to technical analysis, it's really a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the more people who follow these patterns, the more people who follow technical analysis, the more technical analysis is going to come to fruition. That's just how it is. So it's kind of not a bad thing to follow as a piece of what you're doing, because, if you're following the trends and the patterns and they come to fruition, why not follow them? But again, I've also spoken with others of you saying, if you're just buying and holding long term, there's no point in watching these day-to-day price movements. I totally agree with that, and I'm 100% on board with that. The reason I do it goes all the way back to what we were dealing with when Elon was selling back in November and December. It's the emotional piece of things. It's kind of what we do here on this channel, is working with the emotions, teaching us to take the daily, price movements out of it. You want to get swept up in it, you can get really excited and get FOMO, and then you can get paper hands because you're like, ooh, should I sell because we're falling? In order to get rid of that emotion from yourself, I have taught myself technical analysis and learning how to follow sentiment and the news, and how those two pieces can affect technical analysis and the daily price movements. By doing this, that allows me to understand the movements of the stock itself so that I don't get my emotions involved. To me, it's more of a learning thing. I'm just really absorbing this knowledge, whether it's up or down. I know long term we are going to do very well. I'm just absorbing this knowledge, and that helps me take my emotions out of it entirely. And that's what I try to provide to you guys on here with the knowledge. I give you this little pieces of knowledge that I can provide to you to help you take your emotions out, because that really is a big problem that people can have. How many times have in the past, maybe you're like, oh man, the stock's going down, let me sell it. and then it goes back up and you're like, oh man, I wish I hadn't sold it. Now I got to buy back in at a higher price. Or maybe the stock is going up and you're like, oh, this is great. It's going up. Let me buy now. And then the stock falls down. You're like, oh, now I'm a bag holder at the stock at $1,100. Do I sell? How much further are we going to fall? You get into all these emotions, and you don't want to have to get into that when you're really going to be holding it long term. So, an argument could be made to just stay away from it. Don't pay attention to it at all. Just set yourself a nice dollar cost average or add whenever you can add, and don't even look at the daily stock movements. That is definitely a very viable option if you want to go that route. If you are one who does like to watch every single day, then it is good to, pay attention to this knowledge to be able to take those emotions out. And so this is why as we go into the split, if you're getting excited and you're like, oh, why aren't we running up into the split? Well, you can say, okay, well, we're forming this cup and handle pattern. Consolidation is totally normal. Now we can anticipate a potential breakout coming in the future once we finish consolidating. Totally fine. Now your emotions are out of this. And then you can say, all right, well, what happens if we do fall down and fill that gap at 742? Why are we falling? Well, we're falling because we have those gaps down below. If it happens post-split, it'll be at $247. Cool. That's an awesome buying opportunity under $250 before we are most likely going to be breaking out in Q4. These things to pay attention to, then you're not freaking out and going, oh my gosh, should I sell? How much further are we going to fall? Well, chances are if we fall, we'll fill that gap and then probably bounce off of it. We don't have to fill that gap. Maybe we don't even fall down that far. But again, these are just the things to pay attention to because again, the more people who pay attention to technical analysis, the more it comes to reality. So if a lot of people, especially when it's algorithms trading 99% of the trades out there, if they're doing all of that and they're following the technical analysis, there's a chance that it's probably going to end up coming to fruition, and having that knowledge is going to help with your emotions. And some other things to pay attention to when it comes to the entire macro environment is normally August is usually a lower volume month for the entire market. Now we saw Tesla trading at a little bit lower volume yesterday, and it was a very low volume today, only around 15 million shares trading hands. So these are very low volume days. This is pretty typical for August. So then we get into September and that's when we start to get some more volume coming in. So I'm anticipating probably staying lower volume for the rest of the month, maybe a little bit going into the split. Not sure about that at this point just because we're consolidating. But then when we get into September, we may see some higher volume with some selling pressure in the beginning of the month. Then towards the end of the month, as we get those production and delivery numbers in October, that's when we can see some high volume and buying pressure coming in, pushing the stock price even higher. Now, when we're looking at the fundamentals of the stock, because realistically, you can follow the stock price movements all day long, but it really follows this fundamental line on an upward trend, and the stock price is just going to swing up and down off of that fundamental line. So when we're looking at the fundamentals of the company, we look at production first. How many vehicles is Tesla producing? Are they able to catch up with demand because demand continues to grow as well? So can this production keep up with it? And we are getting numbers out of Shanghai right now that they're looking at about 3,000 vehicles per day. 2,000 Model Ys and 1,000 Model 3s. And we are getting information that since they did the upgrades for the Model 3 line, the new battery packs that are in them are producing 10% more range, going from around 550 to 650 kilometers to 600 to 700 kilometers. So this is pretty significant. I don't know any more details on this. If you guys do, let me know. I've got to dive a little bit deeper into that to find out what they have done to change this, but that is a significant bump. And this is really nice to see, especially considering that over in Shanghai, we have also seen that the wait times have come down. So that means that production is ramping up faster. And as we spoke about yesterday, the production is starting to catch up to demand, which is good. Tesla does not want to have long wait times. Especially over in China. People in China don't want to wait. Here in America, we've got, 3, 6, 12-month lead times in some cases. Some people are willing to wait. In China, they're like, dude, I want my vehicle now. Give it to me now or I'm going to go somewhere else. So Tesla being able to catch up to this is a very good thing to see. Now, Kairav also gave me some insider information saying that we found out that over in Berlin, we are seeing VIN numbers not delivered yet, but they have been assigned in the 19,000 vehicle range. So at the end of Q2, we were right around that 7,000 vehicle mark when it comes to the VIN numbers. So now that we're pushing 19,000, based on where we are in the quarter so far, we can guesstimate that we are going to be hitting this quarter probably around 12 to 15,000 vehicles produced and delivered out of Berlin. Now this is a doubling from Q2. Now going into Q4, we are anticipating another doubling from Q3, which would put us at around 25 to 30,000 vehicles produced and delivered out of Berlin. So we're anticipating a third shift coming in sometime in October, which would kick off the fourth quarter. And then I don't know if they're going to extend the number of days that they're working. As of right now, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they are still working 5 days a week over in Berlin. I don't know if they ended up adding that sixth day yet or not. But that's just going to be more production time, which would allow us to be able to produce the 25 to 30,000 vehicles for Q4. So all in all, I thank you all to all of you oracles giving me some amazing information and looking at these patterns, very bullish going forward, not only from a technical analysis standpoint, but also from a fundamental standpoint. Everything is pointing in a very bullish direction in the future. So this is why I want to be a long-term investor in the company. And this is why I take a look at these daily stock price movements and I can take my emotions out because I know that we are going very high, very far in the future. And thank you all also for sharing the brokers that you guys use. I'm compiling a full list of all of these. So if you guys wouldn't mind sharing in the comments below, just let me know what brokers you guys use, what country you are in, and if your country allows fractional trading. I have a lot of people asking on here about that. So if I can compile a list that I can post for you guys regularly and share it with you, then it can really help all of you out for whatever countries you are in, for whatever brokers you want to use. So let me know in the pinned comment below, what do you guys do to keep your emotions out? Are you a kind of person who just doesn't even pay attention to the daily stock movement? Are you one who follows some news and stuff and you just use that to make sure that you're staying on the right track and your emotions are out? Are you somebody who is now following along with this because we have helped you keep your emotions out as well? Let me know what you guys do because any strategies can definitely help, because especially for newer investors who are not used to Tesla's volatility in the stock, it can be daunting and very scary at first. So let me know what you guys are doing to help with your emotions in that pinned comment below. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all of the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. I do have a Discord chat, that link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, we do have a Patreon, that link is also in the description. Thank you so much, have a great one.